So the 34th edition of the Hungarian Grand Prix brought us a really good battle at the front of the field. Not exactly the best of Grand Prix, but we've certainly seen a lot worse, but probably not as good as what we've seen in the past three Grand Prix races, which, to be fair, I wasn't really expecting good ones from this weekend, but all the eyes were obviously what was happening at the front of the grid. Verstappen was on pole for the first time in his career, the 100th pole set in Formula 1, the 22nd different nationality for a driver to be on pole position in the history of Formula 1, and of course the first Dutchman to be on pole position as well. So solid job from him on the Saturday. It was all down to Verstappen to deliver the results on the Sunday. Now the past two races for him have been, well, his past two wins this season have all came from bad starts. So therefore Verstappen had to nail this start, or if not, if he has another bad start, then fate will be with him, and of course he would go on to win the Grand Prix. But he didn't, unfortunately. That of course, was won by Lewis Hamilton, his 7th win at the Hungarian. I believe he's tied with Schumacher now for 7 Grand Prix wins, and this is where, of course, he took his very first victory for Mercedes all the way back in 2013. So very fond memories for Lewis Hamilton in that sense. So before I jump into describing the Grand Prix, in my opinion anyways, let's take a look at the race classifications for the 2019 Hungarian Grand Prix. So for Lewis Hamilton, and he said Verstappen there, Lewis Hamilton takes another victory in first place as well. Like I said, his 7th round here as well, and extends the lead at the top of the championship. Verstappen, commiserations for Max Verstappen, drove a superb Grand Prix, didn't he? Just comes up in 2nd place. Sebastian Vettel, 3rd place. A nice little battle between him and his teammate Charles Leclerc towards the end of the Grand Prix. Again, I'll be talking about that in this review. 4th place, of course, Charles Leclerc. 5th place, Carlos Sainz, solid job from him. Pierre Gasly, P6. I mean, yeah, P6. Kim Raikkonen, though, P7, solid job from him. Valtteri Bottas, oh dear, Valtteri Bottas, P8. P9, Lando Norris, and the last point goes to Alexander Albon. At this moment in time, because I do believe that there is an investigation between Alex Albon and Sergio Perez about something that happened during the course of the Grand Prix towards the end. I didn't see it on camera anyway, I didn't see it on the telly, but I heard that something was under investigation, so those points could change. Nico Hulkenberg in P12, K-Mag in 13th place, Ricciardo in 14th place. You know, he had a lot to do today. He started from the back of the grid about an hour before the race, or 2 hours before the race. He had a power unit change, so therefore had to start at the back of the grid. Danny Kvyat, podium last week, 15th place this week. George Russell had a solid qualifying, couldn't really deliver much in the race. 16th place, but still that's pretty good. Finishing ahead of the Racing Point and Lance Stroll in 17th place. Giovinazzi in 18th place. Robert Kubica rounds off the field in 19th place. Despite being 3 laps down. And of course, one retirement, which was Romain Grosjean, and of course he was the only DNF from the French Grand Prix as well, so kind of history repeating itself in that sense. So yeah, there was a lot of eyes on Max Verstappen at the start of the Grand Prix, wasn't there? Because, you know, his start in Austria wasn't really that good, despite him going to win the Grand Prix. Then he had another dodgy start in Germany. Then he did go on to win the Grand Prix, and he has been saying that his starts have been affecting him throughout the majority of the season. And he's been saying that he's been working on starts all day, all week rather, just trying to get that right, doing extra starts before the cars went out onto the grid. You know, they do practice starts at the end of the pit lane, then of course you can just go around again, come back in. I think he did about 2 or 3, so good preparation from him. Cars lined up on the grid, Verstappen gets away, solid job from him, covers off Valtteri Bottas pretty much straight away, which I think Christian Horner was saying, or Helmut Marko was saying, that he needs to do that because they are quite afraid of the straight line speed that the Mercedes has in that car, and pretty much there isn't that much overtaking opportunities at Hungary. You've got turn 1, turn 2, and maybe, you know, the last part of maybe like the last turn 15 or something like that. So, but other than that, the pretty much the first sector was always going to be a good opportunity to overtake should you get the opportunity to do so. Bottas locks up into turn 1 and then locks up again into turn 2, forcing Hamilton wide, and then made contact with Charles Leclerc. I'm surprised that wasn't looked at. It wasn't even investigated when Leclerc kind of came over in front of Bottas, clipping the side plate of Bottas's wing on the right hand side. That caused a lot of damage and a lot of problems for Valtteri Bottas. He stayed out a lot longer than what he thought he was going to do, like another 5-6 laps. Mercedes were in and out of their garage for about a couple of laps. Didn't come in, but eventually he came in on lap 6 or 7, I think it was. Came in, changed the front wing, and that of course was when Bottas had to get the job done. Really, it was in last place, and it was pretty much going to be a very disappointing or very poor weekend, or race rather, from Valtteri Bottas, who, let's not forget, is still under review for that Mercedes seat in 2020. Despite today's results, I still believe he does deserve that 2020 seat, because he can't just say, okay, he won 2 Grand Prix, but we're going to go off this race because he only finished 9th place and he had a dodgy start. But he kept locking up throughout the course of the Grand Prix, which was weird. So, you know, maybe he couldn't get any temperatures in his brakes, or maybe he was just being too over-aggressive. But either way, he just struggled all race in terms of, you know, where to brake and stuff. I did hear that he had braking problems throughout the course of the Grand Prix, so maybe that affected him in some sort of way. But nevertheless, still a solid job to get back in the points for Valtteri Bottas. But as like I said, there was no real battle in the midfield as well. You know, there was good battles between K-Mag and Daniel Ricciardo. They were battling hammer and tongue towards the end of the race. I think it was about 5 or 6 laps again. K-Mag doing all sorts to try and keep Daniel Ricciardo behind him. And what I was just going to touch on what David Croft said on Sky Sports, where he was saying that he misses Ricciardo being there at the front of the grid, you know, battling with the likes of Vettel, Hamilton, Bottas, and everybody else, and his old teammate Verstappen, going down, you know, into them corners, late braking as well. He did that a few times last season, couldn't really do that this season. And finally, before I go on to the main topic of the race, I want to talk about the 2 Ferrari drivers, because they had a very quiet race. I think they were in a totally different Grand Prix. I think they were trying to prepare for the Belgian Grand Prix. That's how far, well, actually no, I'm not going to say Belgium, that's far ahead. I'm going to say they're still racing in Germany. That's how far behind they were. You know, they didn't have a good Grand Prix at all. Within like a few within 2 laps, you know, I think Charles Leclerc was like 15-20 seconds behind the two drivers in front of Hamilton and Verstappen. So that wasn't good from Ferrari's case, and it became apparent that quite quickly that Ferrari were not in the run to take the lead from the Grand Prix, unless one of those drivers in front, you know, either hit each other, or one of them retired, or something, you know, dramatic happened at the start, which can happen. But it didn't in this case. Then they had a little battle at the end. I think Vettel was on the softs, on the Red Bull softs, and I think Leclerc was on the hards. Leclerc was in front. Vettel was catching him. I didn't really see that as much in the course of the race. I didn't see, you know, as I said, we were so fully focused on the battle ahead that we weren't really aware as to what was going on between the 2 Ferrari drivers. Vettel got ahead of Leclerc, pretty much game, set and match, wasn't it? Leclerc didn't have any answers for him. Vettel finishes on the podium, so continuing on from a good job in Germany to a P3 today. P2 last time out, P3 this weekend. So solid job to wrap up the first half of the Formula 1 season. So let's get on to the main topic, which is of course the battle between Verstappen and Hamilton. Now, you know, Red Bull was saying that they were aware as to how the straight line speed was going to affect them in any way, because they knew that Hamilton would be quite quick on the straight. The Mercedes power against the Honda power, there is still that big difference. Even though Verstappen did get pole, there is a big margin between the Mercedes power and the Honda power, and probably even the Ferrari power to some extent. But you know, Red Bull had to be on their game at all times, because Mercedes, despite them looking like they didn't have the upper hand at the start, they did have the upper hand overall in terms of pace, in terms of strategy. So, and Hamilton's been here before, he knows what to do. Verstappen, this is a totally new experience for him. He has led the Grand Prix before, of course he has, but he's done it from like P4, P5. He hasn't done it from pole position before. So this is the whole new different style of pressure that Verstappen was under. So he had to deliver quite quickly and quite soon, to be fair. So the first round of pit stop comes in. Now, it was all humming and hawing as to who was going to blink first. Verstappen was ahead. Hamilton was catching him. It was like, you know, 8 tenths, 9 tenths, 6 tenths. It was always changing. It was 1.0 seconds, 1.1 seconds, 1.3 seconds. It seemed like Verstappen was going away from Hamilton, but then all of a sudden Hamilton would just find a few tenths in the first sector, or even in the second sector, and just close the gap straight away and quite quickly. And it was all like, okay, who's going to blink first? Mercedes did do a couple of dummies, which I thought, alright, I'm pleased Red Bull kept their cool. Thought, oh, Mercedes guys are coming out, and get him in now. You know, Red Bull remained calm. Of course, they've been there before, and of course Verstappen has, like I said before, well, more Red Bull than Verstappen. Anyways, so they were well aware of the dummies and everything. They probably did it themselves when they were dominating. So Verstappen comes in first, fits on the hard tyres, and then Hamilton kind of waits his turn, comes in, and then fitters on the hard tyres again, the white ball hard tyres. Here comes out. Verstappen is about 6.1, 6.2 seconds ahead. And everyone was thinking, oh, well, I was certainly thinking as well, maybe Mercedes have got this wrong. Maybe, Verstappen is quite far ahead, a lot further ahead than what he was when they first entered the pit. So, has Mercedes got it wrong? No, because within 2 laps, Hamilton was on the back of the Red Bull almost instantly, and it was like, wow, he's just, digging up. And of course, he was just max attack all, pun intended. Obviously, max attack all the way through to try and catch Verstappen on the first set of pit stops, on the first set of his new tyres, getting the best out of them, as he possibly could. New grip, new fresh rubber, getting those temperatures perfectly. Verstappen was about 6. I think his tyres were 6 laps older than Hamilton's, so Hamilton had definitely more, had more grip and had more speed in those tyres. So eventually he catches up to him, but then he couldn't really overtake him because he was struggling with temperatures. But then they had a really close battle. Turn 1, Hamilton goes in for it, can't make the move stick. Verstappen defends well. Hamilton tries to go on the outside, cuts back on the inside. Verstappen has his line covered, then goes into turn 4. Now this is where it gets really, really tasty, because I thought, wow, this is both their races just completely obliterated. Hamilton goes on the right hand side, getting some phenomenal speed, going up the hill towards turn 4. Just on a quick one of my favourite corners in Formula 1. I love that corner, the blind left-hander at turn 4 at Hungary. Hamilton tries to go on the outside. Verstappen has his line covered. Of course, it's Verstappen's line. He's going to take it. Hamilton goes off wide, and if he does overtake him in that sense, then therefore Hamilton would have had to give back the position. Now at this point, the tyres are more or less, well, they're not done, but the best of them are gone in sense of Hamilton's tyres. So therefore, Red Bull obviously knew this, told Verstappen, and Verstappen was probably a lot calmer, despite Verstappen being on the radio about every lap going, where is he, what's going on, what's my tyres like, what's his tyres like, has he got DRS, has he not? So goes wide, picks up a few rubbers and stuff like that. Of course, the tyres being so hot, they're very, very sticky, so anything cold on the track sticks to the tyres, and of course Hamilton will have to back off for a bit, let the temperatures cool down, let the tyres get rid of whatever debris they've got on them, and then go for it again. But with 20 laps to go, on lap 50 I think it was, Hamilton boxes for the medium set of tyres on the yellow wall, and you're thinking, whoa, this is so sudden, because we heard nothing on the radio or anything like that between the two parties. It was quite a shock, and then of course Red Bull by surprise, and then I think Hamilton rejoined. I think it was 19 seconds behind Verstappen, and then Martin Brundle was saying like they need to box Verstappen this lap, and then I'm thinking no, because if they box him this lap, then Hamilton's going to overtake him, so they can't. So really, one of my favourite expressions that Mercedes had, and Hamilton had Verstappen and Red Bull by the nads. So there was nothing they could do. It was either finish the race on those tyres, which were about 20 laps older than Hamilton's at the time, to then either finish the race on those tyres or pit and lose the lead of the Grand Prix. So, and therefore I doubt he would have even caught him, in my opinion, because Hamilton was doing so well. And in cleaner air, Hamilton would have got the best of Verstappen being in the cleaner air, because you could clearly see that the Mercedes car was a lot better than the Red Bull. And then so eventually he catches it, which was going 20, 18, 16. It was only a matter of time, and then about 9 laps to go, Verstappen comes on the radio and says these tyres are dead, they're done. And then on lap 65, I think it was, 66, Hamilton gets him, inevitably, goes round him at turn 1. Verstappen with no grip, nothing in them tyres, has no answer for him. Hamilton takes off, and then Vettel, I keep saying Vettel for God's sake, man, get your grip. I don't know why I keep saying Vettel for. Verstappen boxes at the end of that lap for the set of the soft tyres, the Red Bull soft tyres. And then I'm like, well, but that's easy enough, because Leclerc's about 50 seconds behind him at this point. So they've got a free pit stop, go for the extra point, and of course they do that. They do that. And then Hamilton takes the checker flag. A really, really good Grand Prix on the front of the grid. Like I said, it's of course wasn't exactly the best of Grand Prix. There was only at the front where it got really exciting, but that's where it should be in a way. Not just relying on the midfield to entertain us. The front definitely did. So I think I'm going to say this has been 4 good races in a row, but I think this has probably been the worst, if you know what I mean. I don't want to take any negativity from this Grand Prix, but this is probably the best Grand Prix that we've had in this 4 string of really good races. There was only battling at the front, nothing really in the back. Like I said, the Ferraris had a little tussle at the end of the Grand Prix. But nevertheless, it was a solid job from Mercedes. Very well done from them. Hamilton extends his advantage over his teammate Valtteri Bottas. Verstappen getting ever closer to Valtteri Bottas. He could have overtaken him in the standings, but Verstappen lost the lead, lost some points, and Valtteri Bottas got 2 vital points. And I think it's only 3 points between those two now. 2 points, 3 points. Haven't seen the standings yet. This is just, as like I said, the race has just finished about 10 minutes ago, and I still don't have a watch. So yeah, brilliant Grand Prix from Mercedes as well. That's it for the F1 racing for 3 weeks. Next time we will be appearing, we'll be at the Belgian Grand Prix, one of my favourite Grand Prix. I love the Belgian Grand Prix. Can Mercedes continue this run of dominance? Because let's face it, they are going to win the Constructors. Hamilton is going to win the Drivers' World Championship. It's just a case of when, isn't it? When is he going to do it? Is it going to be sooner rather than later? Hopefully by the time we come to Belgium, we will know the future of Valtteri Bottas. Is he staying or is he going? But nevertheless, guys, this is where I'm wrapping this review. Thank you very much for watching. I've just thought as well, I haven't given my driver of the day. I'm going to say Carlos Sainz for his P5 position. I would also say Hamilton and Verstappen, but for me, Carlos Sainz at P5. Solid job once again from Carlos Sainz, continuing his really good form of point scoring. Very underrated driver. No one's really talking about him as much. He's doing bits in that McLaren, and McLaren are doing bits for him. Norris, very unlucky from him. Got caught out in the pit stop. I think he had a problem rear left, so that cost him a bit of time. But nevertheless, solid job from McLaren all day around. Race rating, I'll give it about 6 out of 10. Battle at the front was really good. Nothing in the midfield. So that's my driver of the day. Let me know your opinions in the comment section below about this Grand Prix. Whether you did like this Grand Prix. Are you happy with Lewis Hamilton's win? Do you think does Carlos Sainz deserves driver of the day? Who do you think is your driver of the day? And of course, tell me everything that you thought about this Grand Prix in the comment section below. If you're new around here, then please like and subscribe as well. It's been brilliant seeing your faces around here as always. Go and check out our latest episode of the F1 Debate Show. Came out yesterday, where we talk about Daniel Kvyat, Pierre Gasly. Will Daniel Kvyat replace? Will Pierre Gasly be replaced by Daniel Kvyat next season? Good topic to talk about in that sense. And that's it for the review so far until our next one at the Belgian Grand Prix. Go and check out. As I said, well, actually, I want to go and check out, but we've got some decent content coming up in the next few weeks. A new series starting. Then we've got our predictions for next season, our driver predictions, and then we're going to be grading each driver and each team's performance so far this season. Can't wait for them. Hope you will join us for them. But anyways, guys, this has been the review. Thank you very much for watching. Enjoy the summer break. I don't know what we'll do with our Formula 1. I'm sure we'll manage. We will be here to dampen them sorrows. Hopefully we'll enjoy our content. And until next time, I'll see you later.